Welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and we've got some more confirmed leaks or reveals for the new Tau Empire Codex. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe for everything from reactions and reviews to rules and various content, as well as Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, and of course Warcry content as well. Everything from our reactions and reviews to customizations, how-to videos, and pretty much anything from lighting, magnetizations, and of course we show off a lot of commissions as they go out of the studio. That being said, let's jump right into the new prototype systems for the Tau. It says melt a hole through a line of tanks with the Tau Empire's prototype systems, and so far these look pretty awesome. So for every tried and tested pulse blast cannon that rolls off the Earthcast production lines, there are hundreds of miracles of Tau engineering that never see the light of day. Some are too expensive to produce in mass, while others raise deeply troubling ethical concerns. But these one-off inventions frequently find their way into the hands of elite battlesuit pilots. We've already had a look at the improvements coming to battlesuit units with the new Codex Tau Empire arrives, so today we're tackling the prototype systems, the stranger pieces of war gear your generals and aces can equip as one-off upgrades if your army is battle-forged. So these are similar to what we had in previous iterations of the Codex, essentially just a limitation of one per army, and they're basically just like a prototype experimental system, sort of like a relic that you can put on your Tau suits. Take the alternating fusion blaster, an experimental upgrade to regular old fusion blasters. So you buy your fusion blaster or this specific fusion blaster for someone that could be equipped with it within the restrictions, and then you get this special ability, usually like a one-time use. Sometimes it'll be multiple times, but basically just bumps it up a level. So we've all been there. You power up your fusion blaster to give a repulsor or battle wagon what for, and then a whole tank column shows up at once. Now, thanks to the wonders of the Earthcast science, one gun can bore through anything that stands between your battlesuit and your target. So this is a prototype weapon for a fusion blaster, and it's able to be equipped on a commander or crisis suit. The model equipped with one or more fusion blasters only. This prototype system replaces one fusion blaster and has the following profile: range 12, assault 1, strength 8, -4 AP, d6 +2. Not sure, I believe that is the standard profile for the fusion blaster, but the ability is where it shines. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, draw a straight line between the closest point of the model's base or hull and that of the closest model in the target unit. Make one wound roll against the target unit and each other unit that this line passes over. So if you have a commander or crisis suit shooting this at something that is 12 inches away, you would position it so that you have multiple other units or targets in between the firer and the target. And then if you score a hit with the initial shot, you then make a hit roll against everything else that it crosses over. So basically, if you have a bunch of tanks in a row, probably 2 or 3 I would imagine is the max just because of their size, you could essentially score a fusion hit on multiple tanks. So sort of reminds me of the, what was it, the Halo weapon that just shoots like a lava lightning kind of line. So essentially gives you the ability to hit multiple targets, potentially like characters or sniping out a bunch of things at a time if they're lined up perfectly. And with the speed and deep strike abilities and whatnot of your suits, give you the ability to basically position yourself to where you can really utilize this. The alternating fusion blaster is a serious investment in points, and as with all prototype systems, it can only be taken once per army, but there's nothing better than turning enemies into a neat row of molten scrap. Veteran Tau Empire commanders are no stranger to the joys of soaring around in a Cold Star battlesuit, and you can now channel your inner dam buster with a set of hidden bomblet bays. Enemies that stop to marvel at your graceful parabola will get the shock of their lives in a rain of high-yield explosives. So this is our internal grenade racks. Once per turn, after this model has moved in your movement phase, you can select one unit it moved across and roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers a d3 mortal wounds. So this one does not specifically say what battlesuits it's limited to. It does say specifically on here, Cold Star, but that may just be because the Cold Star is so fast. So But essentially, once per turn, you fly over top of a unit, and then that unit that you flew over, roll a d6 on a 2-up. They take a d3 mortal wounds. Not bad. You could use it to snipe characters or finish off something that is already wounded, or just put a little extra damage on something that you're planning on attacking. Nice little boost. Probably not going to be a game changer. While finding new and interesting ways to detonate enemies of the Talva is fun, some prototype systems are more defensive in nature. A new version of the Stimm Injector, for instance, gives an imperiled pilot a short burst of focus during which they can shrug off even the most horrendous wounds. So this is the prototype Stimm Injectors, commander or crisis model only. Once per battle, when a saving throw has failed for the bearer can use this prototype system. If it does until the end of the turn, each time the bearer would lose a wound, roll 1d6 on a 4-up, that wound is not lost. So this triggers once you fail a saving throw, and then assuming you're like, oh, that sucks, I failed that saving throw, instead of like command point re-rolling it or just taking the damage, you can now trigger this prototype system until the end of the turn. Each time the bearer would lose a wound, roll a d6 on a 4-up, that wound is not lost. So as soon as you trigger it, it would be active for the wound that you were right about to lose because you just failed your save, and then every wound after that. So obviously you want to do this at a crucial point when you can't afford for this unit to die, when you know it's about to take a bunch of fire or damage, and potentially this could save its life. So pretty cool, definitely nice. The 50% chance of shrugging every wound this thing takes could definitely play out pretty nicely. Couple that with the invulnerable save and maybe some close by drones, and it could definitely buy you a turn from taking quite a bit of fire. Did you know that information warfare can be just as effective as perforate things with railgun warfare? If you plan on deploying a ghost skill, perhaps from the upcoming Tau Empire Combat Patrol box, an EH disruption suit should be on your radar. Most foes rely on primitive and cunning stratagems to resist the greater good, so the ability to throw a wrench in their plans for a turn is worth its weight in gold. So obviously this prototype system, the EH Disruption suit, is for Ghost Skill battle suit only. Once per battle in your command phase, the bearer can use this prototype system. If it does until the start of your next command phase, it gains the following ability. So it lasts for one turn, you trigger it in your command phase, and it's a one-use only ability. EH Disruption Aura, while an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, each time your opponent selects that unit for a stratagem, and each time your opponent uses a stratagem when that unit is selected to shoot or fight, increase the command point cost of that stratagem by 1 command point. Note that the command point cost is only increased by 1 command point for the use of the stratagem. Any future uses of it cost the normal amount of command points. So this could be pretty epic. You basically scout ahead with your ghost skill, potentially, kamikaze type situation. You can trigger this ability, shut down a bunch of their ability to use stratagems, propel this thing into the middle of their army. You can now use the ignore invulnerable save stratagem, light up a key unit, and probably wipe it out. Not to mention, if they do anything like a command point reroll or some other ability to try to save it, they're going to have to pay 1 extra command point for each of those stratagems. So now you're potentially costing them extra command points, potentially wiping out a key unit in their army, and then stopping them from doing anything to really deal with this ghost skill. So it's going to draw obviously a ton of fire, but they're not going to be able to use any cool abilities or anything without paying that command point tax. So this is very nice. Definitely going to make ghost skills an integral part of most armies. Even if you're using them as a sacrificial unit, or just dropping these things in the middle of their army to wipe something big out, or just annoy them or throw their game off, this is pretty cool. Definitely like in the new Tau stuff. So we see obviously these 4 prototype systems are pretty awesome. Some offensive, some defensive, definitely some strategy, tactics, and damage dealing potential in these bad boys. I am really liking what we have seen so far from the Tau Codex. I like it as long as everything is points balanced and use balanced. This should play out really nicely. I'm really liking the idea though of a suit heavy army. In the past, there have been varying degrees of functionality with the suits. I really like the idea of being able to use riptides, ghost skills, and some regular suits or commanders as well for a nice blend of Tau. The ability to be able to dodge combat, leave combat, ignore vulnerable saves, hit multiple units with a fusion, mess with their command point abilities. I mean, the sky's the limit with these things. They are definitely awesome. Love the line, and anybody that is like a Gundam fan or mech fan obviously should be ready to play with these bad boys. We obviously saw some initial stuff with like the Hammerhead, but obviously there's going to be a ton of different options available. You can either take Borkan, you could use some of the various other units to ignore invulnerable saves, you could go a completely different route. I'm really liking it. I like the idea of being able to use the Storm Surge if that's what you want to use, or the Hammerheads if that's what you want to use, or picking Borkan. You know, just giving you a lot of different ways to build the army and play the different units with different strengths and weaknesses, you know. So overall, loving everything so far. I suspect that there will probably have to be some rebalancing issues at some point in time, but let's let this set come out and see how everything looks, see where it stands and what it's doing. I think a lot of the other armies probably getting a decrease in their vehicles and heavy hitters probably will sort of line things up a little more with some of the heavy punching stuff coming out of the Tau. Now let's keep in mind also the Tau should have the strongest shooting because they have the weakest combat. So the balance there, a lot of stuff seems overly powerful on the shooting side, but you don't take into account the fact that, you know, if you tag them with even a basic intercessor squad or something like that, they are probably going to get torn to pieces. So let me know what you think. What are you excited about? What set have you seen something cool about so far, or what guns? What suits are you looking for? Did you see the Combat Patrol video, and how do you think that looks now that you know Ghost Skills might be making a nice little comeback? So far, I think the Ghost Skill and the Riptide paired with Borkan probably have the best abilities. To be able to deal out a ton of damage from a distance and ignore invulnerable saves on like the Riptide, or to be able to essentially send in a Kamikaze Ghost Skill that ignores invulnerable saves, wipes something big out, and then shuts off your opponent's like stratagems. Well, not shuts them off, but makes them pay the tax. Definitely some pretty awesome stuff going on here. So looking forward to seeing the new builds, seeing any new rules coming out when the actual codex drops, and essentially seeing the Tau back in the game. They had a nice little time in 8th edition where they were pretty awesome and their shooting was pretty powerful, and then they kind of faded into the shadows. We see the Necrons are getting buffed now. The Tau look like they're going to get some nice buffs with the new codex, and honestly just really excited for the future codexes as well. The Eldars got me excited. We know Chaos is going to be coming down the pipe here hopefully before too long. Definitely enjoying where they're going with this. I know it's a lot to take in, a lot of content and rules drops and models, but for anybody that enjoys 40K, gotta just love the excitement coming out of it, the momentum behind all these new models, new sculpts, and new rules. And then hopefully the meta can kind of settle in a little bit. We can kind of get everything balanced out, and we can all have a good old time with our plastic war toys. But that's it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down below. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And remember, like and subscribe for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, and of course, that sweet, sweet necromunda content. And I do have a large commission coming out of the studio here soon, so keep your eyes out for the Adeptus Custodes. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.